What's up, everybody? Scott from RC Must See. It's 7:45 on a Friday night, and I'm working on the old laser nut here. And as you can see, I'm working on some custom steel panels for this thing. There's my side panel that just fell off, but put a bunch of work into it, and figured I might as well stream while I'm working on it. I have one more panel to do. That's this right side of the car. Left side's coming together. You can see here. And I'm going to paint all this stuff up, but in general, you can get an idea where this is going. What's up, RC Steven? Hopefully that's my boy Steve that I know. He's probably one of my #1 fans. Good to hear from you, Steve. Hopefully you're still messing with RC cars like I am. It's been a little while. I've been away from the RC car stuff for a good long time. I had a little health issue there for a good 6 to 8 months, but I'm feeling much better now. So, yeah, so I'm happy to be back. I'm very enthusiastic about what I'm doing, and it's fun, man. I miss it. I miss using the RC cars. As you guys know, if you watched my last video, I picked one of these laser nuts up, and oh, good to hear, Steve. And I don't know, kind of freaking out about it. As you guys know, I'm a bit of a craftsman, so I do enjoy kind of taking on a project every once in a while. And my main project for now is basically making some custom body panels for this laser nut. And hey, if I'm doing it, I figured on a Friday night I would do it with you guys. So it's good to hang out with other people, even though we're across the internet here, not exactly hanging out, but figured I'd show you what I'm doing as my body panel falls off. It's not bolted down. This one is all basically done. Looks a little funky, I'll admit it. This is my first time working with steel panels, and what I did to make this stuff, very time consuming, very sharp, cut the hell out of my hands just working on this. But basically went to Home Depot and bought basically like a $10 sheet of metal here. This was for duct work, and it's probably stainless or galvanized or something like that. And it was pretty cheap. And of course, I have all the stock panels for this car. You know, it comes with really cool stuff. The laser nut actually is very scale for what it is, right? So here's the stock nose cone. You can kind of see it goes something like that. But, you know, I like to make everything I buy, I make my own in some way, whether it's my car or my RCs in some way, shape, or form. I've never worked with steel panels before, so I figured I would, you know, give it a go, basically. It's going to be hard for me to top what comes out of the box, right? Because this is pretty badass, let's be honest. And this is made in a mold in a factory, and they have all the things worked out. But what you see here is just a, you know, basic mock-up of what it's going to be. All this stuff's going to get painted, and you know, it's probably going to dent to hell the first crash I take. The thing about steel is that it's strong, right? But it's going to dent, where Lexane, which is what this is made of, is very flexible, and it's going to crack, but it's not really going to dent too much. Also, this is very heavy. It's not that heavy, all things considered. really, it's not super heavy for a body. If you're going to add a bunch of weight to your RC car, especially to the top of your car, you're probably going to have to stiffen up your springs on your body and add a little thicker fluid in. And here's the body of the laser nut. Let's get this out of our way for now. And maybe we'll move our light out of the way here too. My lighting's not the best. As you can see, my shop area is a mess. Exactly, Steve. You gotta build it and crash it. Exactly. If you're not crashing it, you're not really driving it. If you're not breaking it, you're not really driving it. So, you know, that's just whether it's bicycles or RC cars, you gotta push it to the limit. But this is the main chassis of the laser nut, which is based on the Tenacity, which is kind of like a desert buggy, if you will. And it's a good truck. I think it's good. I specifically bought this because I like the fact that it's easy to access the internals of this truck. If you saw my last video, you would have seen that to get into this center section, you just have to fold it up on these two little hinges back here, and you can get access to the whole car. In general, it's pretty simple. You know, compared to my 1/8 scale, our race cars, it's very simple. It's a 10th scale car, but it's pretty big for 1/10 scale, especially the wheelbase. It's a lot longer than a normal 1/10 scale. I guess 1/10 scale is pretty much, I don't know. It's a phrase that we use in RC, but it's big. I mean, it's as big as your 1/8 scale buggy if you put them side to side, especially if you add in the wheels, which are massive, right? So that's the spare tire that comes with this truck. It's huge. It's a short course wheel, right? So it's bigger on the outside, smaller on the smaller on the outside, bigger on the inside. The wheels are good. I like the tires that come with this truck. They're very grippy. I like the tread. It's a good all around tire, but they're pretty big on this thing. Not really to scale. Per se, and if you were to race this in like a real U4 race, I think they'd be too big because you have to run like a 2.2 inch tire on this car. But I like this car because it's got diffs that you can tune just like an 8 scale car. You have a front, a center, and a rear. I do have some new diff fluid I'm going to be using. One thing I did notice about this truck when I took it out in the dirt, it's still a little dirty. I haven't really cleaned it because I only ran it for 10 minutes. But one thing I noticed was there was a lot of positive traction going on with this truck. And what I mean by that is that the center diff was pretty thin, and when you hit the throttle, you want all 4 wheels to spin. And with a thinner fluid in the center, that means that the front's going to spin and the rear doesn't, or it's just not going to send power equally to the front or the rear. So one thing I did buy for this truck is 1 million weight center diff fluid. So what's that's going to do? This stuff's super thick. If you've never messed with it before, it's crazy thick. You actually have to like kind of cut it with scissors as you dump it into the diff. But having more 4-wheel drive action is going to allow it to crawl better and get over obstacles a little bit better. And a thinner center diff is going to allow it to drive at speed better because it's going to transfer your power from front to rear a little bit more efficiently at speed. But because I don't really plan to run this thing high speed like I do my 1/8 scale cars, I'd rather have all 4 wheels spinning, and that's what that center diff's going to do. And the same goes for the front or the rear. The thicker the front diff fluid is, the more both wheels will spin at the same time, which is not good at speed, because at speed you want to have the outside wheel turning faster than the inside wheel. And then the same thing for the rear. In the rear of the truck, you want to have especially the rear, you want to have a thinner diff fluid in there so that it can kind of help the car rotate. If they're all four wheels are locked and spinning at the same rate, then it's going to kind of chunk along and not going to really rotate the way you want it to. So with this truck, the idea is that it should be a little bit of both. I have no idea what the diff fluid that comes stock in this truck is. They don't tell you. I suppose I could ask Lozy what they actually put in there, but I don't know. So in general, I think one of the best things I could do, especially after that 10-minute drive that I took, would be to thicken up the diff fluid a little bit in this truck here. But I will get to that at another point. I do plan to run again on Sunday. John and I are heading back out to our little bash spot, and we will be hopefully setting up a little course, and I want to see how this thing does. I did fix the steering. If you saw my last video, I broke this part, the steering linkage. You can see right here, that thing snapped. Screw that. I got a plastic one, a stock plastic one back in there from Lozy. Thank you to John for picking that up for me from Hobbytown and Tom's River. But I did a couple things to hopefully mitigate that issue that I had with this steering rack that broke the first time. And the first thing is I loosened up the servo saver a tad bit. I had actually cranked that all the way down so that there was no spring left in it when I drove it the first time. And also kind of with this better servo I put in here, previously I was trying to get this angle as straight as I could, so I had a few spacers in there, and I've taken most of those spacers out, because actually the higher this goes, the more torque that's going to put on that plastic piece down there. So hopefully with this lower, it's a little more direct and there's not as much torque being put on this part. Like I said in the video, I do have all new parts coming from this car. I've purchased a lot of expensive parts for this car that are still in the mail. Unfortunately, they're only available from China, which I'm not really a fan of buying things direct from China. But from what I've seen, the company that makes the best stuff for this truck is a company called Vidavon, and they only sell direct out of China. So basically, those are, I know they've already shipped. They're probably on some kind of storage container coming out of Asia at the moment, crossing the mega Pacific Ocean. And they should be here this month or early next month at best. I can't wait to get them. You guys will see what I actually ordered to fix this truck. This truck has several issues out of the box that if you research this thing enough, you'll know about. And one of the major things is the drive shafts, and the diff housing back here is weak. I don't know. I plan to run this thing on 3S. I think mostly it is capable of 4S. But given where I'm going to run it and who I'm running with and what we're going to do with it, I think 3S is probably a better bet. Just 4S is more top speed and power, obviously, but I don't know if that's all necessary for really rock racing, or like kind of, we're going to be desert racing in a way. Well, sand racing. You'll see on Sunday. We'll get some more footage. I'll have another video out probably early next week once we get some footage out in our new bash spot. My buddy John just bought he got a new Baja Ray. So that's the Lozy Baja Ray. He already had the Rock Ray, which I sold him, and he got the new Baja truck version of that. So we'll get some footage of that, and that should be fun. We're going to set up a course for real this time. Hopefully this thing doesn't break within 10 minutes again. And I do have one 3S battery I can use in here. I'm a little limited by the size of this battery tray. It's not super big. It's relatively small, this here. I don't really feel like buying another battery because I have so many, especially I have so many 4S batteries. And I will run it on 4S. But anytime you amp up the power in this car, obviously you're going to put more strain on it, and that's where things can break. So we'll see. I did break it on 2S, which is pretty pathetic. That was a pathetic run, I have to say. I'm pretty disappointed in this truck. Maybe because of some of the changes I made to this thing that exacerbated things, but in general, I was pretty surprised that it actually broke like the first battery that I ran through it, which is really disappointing. I've owned many RC cars in my day, and not many of them actually break the first time you take it out. That's pretty sad. That's really sad. Um, I get it, you know, it's plastic, things break, but for something to break within 10 minutes of the car being run on half the voltage that it's capable of is just a shame. So I don't know what to say about that. Luckily, we had a replacement part, so that's fixed. And this Sunday should be pretty fun. So hopefully you guys will tune into that. I'll have another video out late next week probably. It takes some time to edit this stuff, and I really enjoy doing that. But you know, I don't know why I'm going live tonight. I have nothing else to do. Let's get this out of the way. Here's our body, our silver bullet body. So here you can see the stock panel, and then this side is just the exposed chassis. I have one side of it made up. I see your comment there. More metal for RC cars. That's always debatable, you know, because obviously RC cars, they're made to be products, right? So metal is expensive and also not always the best choice. I'm not even saying that this is going to be better than the Lexane. God, this is going to be better than what is stock. It's probably not, to be honest with you. The metal is strong, like it's probably stronger than the Lexan stuff, but it's not necessarily, you know, better. Better, you know, ideally for your car, you would have something that lasts forever, but that's too expensive, right? These things are made in molds, and they have to make a profit on them, so not everyone, these manufacturers, the big manufacturers, and even the cheap Chinese ones that you see, they're not going to be using metal to make their RC cars. They're going to put out the cheapest product possible that is the best for them. And some cars, some companies put out cheaper products than others. Like if you go direct to China and get those really cheap, attractive cars that are half the price of like the big name brands, you're gonna get what you pay for. Trust me, I know. I've bought those things. You know, you want them to be as good as a Traxxas or Techno or Lozi, but they're not. They're just not. And not only are they worse, like for example, the metal that they use is, you know, cast and not machined. Like machined parts are much stronger. Like if you buy a nice kit, like no kit, all the shock towers and everything are machined out of one piece of aluminum. They're junk metal that comes in those cars. That's why they're cheap, right? There's not like, it's not cheap because you're cutting out the middleman. They're cheap because they're actually cheap cars. So beware. Don't buy crappy cheap cars, because you'll end up having to fix them. And then when you buy stuff direct from China, what happens is that you have to order replacement parts from China, and they take a month to get to you in America. So it's really not worth it. When you're going to buy a car, you really should look for something that has a lot of aftermarket support and has stuff readily available. Like, it's tempting to buy the cheaper stuff, but you have to remember that it's going to break. Like, even good cars will break, and you need to the ability to get replacement parts for them is to me, just as important as how good the actual car is out of the box. So with this project, I'm basically doing something because I'm obsessed with it. And I'm a craftsman. I like making custom stuff for my cars. There's plenty of better ways to do this. This is being done by hand, like I'm bending this metal by hand and cutting it. It's sharp. It's not easy to do. Like ideally, this stuff would be laser cut. Like if you watch anybody watches Harley Designs, that guy makes the best scale trucks that you can possibly make. He works in the industry. He works for Vanquish, a company that makes scale crawlers, and he has access and the knowledge to use CAD software and get custom parts laser cut out of the car. But for me, basically, I enjoy making it my own. Coming out pretty good so far. Shiny, that's for sure. That won't last for long. I'm looking forward to painting this car. I'm going to have probably a 3-tone paint job to this car. One paint color being this orange. And then another, this blue and this white. So those 3 colors are going to make up paint job on this car. Inspired by the real, like some U4 some U4 trucks that I've seen in the real world. Yeah, it came out okay for the first time. It's not bad. There's a couple little spots here that aren't perfect. I'm such a perfectionist. I want it to be perfect, but that's almost impossible unless you have access to a lot of those things. So that's basically it. Coming out pretty good. Just trimming this stuff. The way I do this is essentially take the stock panel and hold it up to the metal and try to mimic it as best as possible. I don't know. I have a lot of cool stuff. You can see on the lasernut they have these inserts here that are actually on the real lasernut, and I actually think it's probably worth it to scribe them on the metal and cut them out. And the next part of this project is going to be using some of this 1mm scale screen. So instead of having what Losi uses, made out of plastic, I'll have that screen in the back. And I just have to cut those holes out of the metal parts here and then attach this screen behind it and get the same effect but make it look even more scale. And lighten this up because going to steel on the body is definitely heavier than Lexane plastic. Right? It's not too bad. Ultimately, it's not super heavy, but I would say in general, adding weight to the body is going to add weight to the whole car. That's sprung weight you have to deal with. And depending on how heavy this comes out, I may have to up the spring rate on the shocks, right? So if you're adding weight to the vehicle and you want it to handle good, the springs have to get tighter, and you might have to add a little thicker fluid in there to make it handle well, because otherwise the whole truck's going to get wallowy and sink too far into its travel, and it's just going to handle like crap. Not to mention the drivetrain is going to be stressed more. But all things considered, so far it's not that heavy for using steel. So I have one body panel left. I don't expect much from this stream. Hopefully you guys are just hanging out. My goal with this stream is to just work on my car, and you guys hopefully can work along with me. Maybe you have a car yourself and you can go grab it and work. If you have a comment or a question, please let me know. I'm happy to answer those. I'll try to keep up with them as best I can. I haven't been doing a lot of YouTubing for quite a while. Like I said in the beginning of this stream, just because I've been out of RC for a bit and haven't really been too into it, but you know, I miss doing it, and it's a good thing to do when you're bored, and just for me specifically, it's a good creative outlet, right? It's just something super fun to do, especially with doing stuff like this, where you get to create and make something that you have better, right? Like nobody's gonna have this truck when I'm done with it. Like who has a steel body paneled car? Nobody. Well, a steel body paneled laser nut. Oh, you're always bored? Hey, you know what? That's not a terrible thing. If you're bored, then get creative, man. Create something. Write something, read something, listen to something, and then put it on YouTube. YouTube is amazing. It's one of the best things ever invented by humankind. That's the way I look at it. YouTube is as important as the Gutenberg press, except you don't have to know how to read, right? If you don't know what the Gutenberg press is, look it up. It's important. But we'll pop this off of here. One more screw. The lack of resources crushes creativity. Explain yourself. What does that mean? Do you live on an island with no resources? I don't get it. Pretty cool cage on this truck. Really cool. Man, I wish I knew how to weld steel tubing. I would make a steel chassis, steel tube chassis for this car so quick. I just don't have the resources to do that. I don't have that. Maybe that's what you're talking about, the resources. But there's always resources to be had if you want them. Depends on how deep you want to go. Like, I don't have a welder and I don't have steel tubing, but I'm sure if I, wanted them and really wanted to learn how to do it, I could do it. Can't find people to help me manufacture the things in my heart. Well, that's up to you, my man. You can find them. They're out there. It's just how bad do you want them? You're not a victim of anybody, right? Like if you really, really wanted to do it, I guarantee you could do it. Trust me. You just have to do it. It's like anything that's worth doing is hard. It's a stupid cliche, but it's also very true. Like nothing that's worth doing is easy. So like unless you live on Hawaii and you're completely isolated from anyone and anything, but I bet you even then you could do it. Just it's going to pay more. But everyone has excuses. Like I live in New Jersey, right? Which is not a great place for RC cars. It's just not a great place for a lot of things. But I still make do. We have a lot of cold, terrible weather, but everything I get here outsourced, so it's somewhere else. Make it yourself. You just got to make it yourself. If you can't get it, do it yourself. Like nobody makes steel panels for a laser nut, do they? But I made it. I just went to Home Depot. I bet you have a Home Depot by you. Everyone has one of those. So be creative, be smart, and make it happen. Start your own YouTube channel and share it with other people. So and then you can actually get people to follow you. I never dreamed I'd make money off of YouTube, but I have. I've actually made a paycheck off of YouTube, like over the years, thousands of dollars, which is ridiculous, right? Like all this is a labor of love. Like there's compared to actually punching into your job, this is easy. Like the dream is to make money off of YouTube. Now, granted, I got lucky and I got very successful with one specific video that I've made. So you live in Wales, All right, mate. So you're from Britain. There's probably things up there you can do in Wales. I'm sure of that. There's plenty of things to do in Wales with RC cars. There's lots of guys out there that make RC cars. They use them. I'm sure you got plenty of places that you can drive. Lots of trails to go into. I'm sure that, mate. So do it. Just do it. You'll be the only guy in Wales that actually has an RC channel. So do it. Wales, well, that's English, I would believe. I don't know the difference between Wales and England. Can you tell me that, mate? I don't know. All right. Anyway, that's the other panel. Wales is like south of England, isn't it? Pretty sure. A Welshman. So you're a Welshman, eh? I'll be right back, guys. Give me 2 seconds. The other thing about the live stream is I wish I could play some music for you guys, because I always like to listen to music when I work on cars. But the way things are so restricted with, you know, advertisements and licensing, they don't let you listen to music. Now, I do have permission from one creator to use his music, and I might do that. There's 1 or 2 RC stores in the whole of Wales. Wow, I think it's 1 now. Everyone else is listed online is closed. Damn, son, it's called Amazon. Oh, well, so you can either look at that one of 2 ways. Either you can say that you got nothing to work with, or you can make yourself. Like, that's an opportunity. I bet you there's plenty of people in Wales that use RC cars. And want to use RC cars. Like, I guarantee you that. I'm not trying to get preachy on you, dude, but in general, I would say that you have an opportunity. Where there's a vacuum, there's an opportunity. You could actually start your own YouTube channel, like Welsh RC or Wailing Welshman, whatever, you know? And you could get, if you really work at it, you could do it, dude. Trust me. It's not that hard. I never thought I'd get paid from YouTube, but you know what? If you have no hobby shops, like most of the hobby shops around me have closed as well, because in general, people don't like working with their hands. They like to use their cell phones, and nobody cares about this stuff anymore. But I guarantee you there are people that do care about it. And if you establish yourself as someone that knows what they're talking about, you can get a following, man. All right. So if you decide to work with this stuff, I'll give you a little piece of advice. Be careful. This is sharp stuff, man. Very sharp stuff. You can cut yourself. I have a Band-Aid on my finger because I cut myself pretty good working on this last night. I worked for a good 5 hours on this after work. I work for I work full time. I'm a bicycle mechanic by trade, so I work with my hands all the time, every day, all day. And this is my hobby. So, if you end up getting some steel like this, be careful. Take your time. I'm just going to trace this on here and see where we're at. So I don't want to damage. I'm really, really taking all my effort to not damage the chassis or my stock parts, because if this stuff doesn't work out, I can always put all this stuff back on. Like, don't rush the job. If all else fails, go back to what's stock. But with this body panel here. All right, RC Steve. Steve, I have a shirt for you, bro. It's sitting right over here. I keep meaning to send it to you. You probably have my number. Text me your address again. I will send you your shirt that you bought because trust me, I remember. I'm sorry I didn't get to you. Look at your followers, subscribers. I would just like to hook up a few people. Fair enough. Fair enough. The way to hook up with other people is to get followers. Think about that, right? I've had a lot of people on YouTube reach out to me and say, "Hey, I'm in New Jersey too. Where are you? Let's where let's meet up." And take that with a grain of salt because you don't always want to meet up with everyone that talks to you online. But you know what I mean, man. Just the more exposure you can get, the better. So I'm taking this body panel and making real sure that I'm holding it down in one spot. Taking my time using a permanent marker. Tracing out the lines. This is a rough shape, right? So that's that. Now I'm dealing with a curved panel here. Like if this was perfectly flat, then this perfectly flat image would transfer right over to the side of the car, but it's not. So you have to figure that if you're tracing this, you're gonna have to make some parts of these longer. So if you're gonna do that, I know up and down is fine, but I'm gonna have to extend these out a little bit to make sure that they fit better. It's better to cut some off than cut it too short. If you cut it too short, that means you have to recut the whole thing. If you cut it a little bit long, you can always trim it. And again, I don't have really the proper tools to do this, I'll be honest with you. RC Steve, I'll get it to you, bro. I guarantee you I'll send you your shirt out. I guarantee that. I probably can get in touch with you through YouTube. Don't worry about it, man. I'm glad you still have your shirt. RC Steve, I left Facebook for months. I haven't been on Facebook for quite a while. I'll be honest with you. I had to start a whole new profile. My profile got hacked on Facebook, so I had to abandon it. And I'm actually not a big fan of social media in general. I like YouTube a lot. So far, it's good because the restrictions don't really apply to RC because this is pretty kid-friendly and family-friendly. Like, I'm not talking about politics or anything like that, although I do care about that stuff quite a bit. But, yeah, so send me another Facebook friend request, Steve. Just look for my name, and I will definitely get your shirt out. Or, you know what, even better, if you have a basher, like if you have something like a fast rock ray or a rock racer, come out and drive with me. You know where we live. We're not far from each other. And the more the merrier. I'll put you in the next video that we do. I know you have your crawlers. If you don't have a rock racer, buy one. You'll definitely get in the video. All right, so here's the funny part, right? I'm a master of making things out of the wrong tools. The only thing I have to cut this steel are these ridiculous shears. Totally ridiculous. Like, this is meant to cut like PVC. Like, it's way too much. I bet you I could use scissors for this. Let me find my scissors. Like, this stuff's pretty thin. See how thin that is? You've been on YouTube years now. Never made content. I just support the RC and community and moderate channel. Cool, man. That's cool. That's really cool. And thank you so much for watching my stupid live stream. I'm not really doing much except messing around with my steel chassis, my steel body panels here. But anything you could do to support the channels you like is a good thing. Just don't take it too seriously. I think that's the main thing. You know, like, people take social media way too seriously. And also, I would, like I said in the beginning of this stream, don't be afraid to do your own channel. Like, not, I know it's not for everybody. Like, not everyone can make movies and has the ability to edit stuff. But if you really want to do it, you should just do it. It's so easy. So easy to do. I've always loved making movies, and I almost like making the movies better than actually driving the cars at some level. So I'm just trimming the steel out here. I'm giving myself some extra space. Super sharp. I'm actually just using regular scissors to do this. It's that thin. I mean, they're brand new pair of scissors I bought for $10 for two. But to me, that's basically disposable. Boom. There's our side body panel. The rough cut. And that's our scrap. Get that out of our way. Very sharp, careful. Don't let your dog chew on that. Cheers, everybody. So I'll do a rough fit here. You've done a bunch of upgrades on your Axial SCX2 Jeep. Sweet. Axial SCX-10 is an awesome car. Like, I've always been a Traxxas guy. So that's what I know about. But the Axial is a classic. I've done so much customization to my my Traxxas TRX4. It's ridiculous. I would say, you know, do whatever you love to do with RC. That's the main thing. So we have a rough panel here, right? So I have to bend it so that it's nice and sharp to meet these edges. This is the tricky part. I'll go grab my TRX4 and show you guys in a sec. Some of the things I've done to that. I've competed with it. Hey man, I haven't seen you since crawling. Hobby Master, just hope you're live streaming good stuff as all. Steven, thanks man. Appreciate that. Yeah, it's been a long time, bro. Too long. Glad to be back in the RC world here. I do miss competing with the crawler. And race an 8 scale too. If you guys have ever followed my channel, you've seen done quite a bit of 8 scale racing over the years. When I go in on something, I go full bore. I never go half-assed. So I have a YouTube channel, and then, you know, all that other good stuff. Crawling's a totally different thing though, which I really like. Like, crawling is, to me, equally as fun as racing 8 scale. Wish I could give you guys a better view, and to be honest, I wish I had a better studio. This is just my workbench that I work from. I don't have some kind of RC Steve. Yeah, I still got the TRX4. Definitely do. I have two TRX4s. I have a Sport that I built from the ground up. And I have my original TRX4 tactical unit that is broken at the moment. It has like some weird electronic issue that I just haven't had the time to figure out what's going on with it. All right, so I've basically took this metal piece and bent it on the chassis there. You can see I have a little bit of a bend going on. So what I have here is a piece of chunky aluminum. So I'll take that and just give it a good bend, like a straight bend. You want your creases to be straight, right? So pop, pop. Now I have a straight piece here. Just be careful. Like, probably should be wearing gloves with this. These edges are really, really sharp. Like, super sharp. I have this file here so I can go over it when I'm done and get rid of some of those burrs. And then I have this silly, like, Lazy Susan thing that I like to put the car on. I use this for making models and dioramas. This might blow your mind, but I make a lot of diorama stuff too. Thanks, Steve. I make a lot of 1/35th scale diorama stuff, so check that bad boy out. This is the first snow scene I've ever done. Poured the stream. That's a Sherman tank, a jumbo tank, going through the muddy stream there. I've made about half a dozen of these, and they've all been pretty successful so far. Steve, you still got your Defender. That's good to hear, man. It's real good to hear. Steve, have you been using your RC cars at all, or what? You just looking at them on the shelf? All right, so we got our first bend right here. Somewhat accurate. See, it's starting to take shape, right? And the second part is this front bend up here, which has to follow that tube chassis that comes with it. RC Steve, yeah, I still paint. To what capacity? I paint a lot of things. What are you talking about? Like paintings? Or are you talking about RC cars or dioramas? I do a lot of things. I have many creative outlets that I like to indulge in. Excuse me. Wow, this beer is good. All right, so you can see here the underside of this chassis. This is lined up pretty good. I'm gonna have to trim, like I'm gonna make it smaller up here. But this part needs to get bent into that zone right there. So we're just gonna hold it there, give it a rough bend around that chassis. Boom. So now I have a rough shape for that. You usually crawl with Scale Off-Road. Cool. Those guys are cool. I like them a lot. And there we have somewhat of a side panel for this truck, right? Basic. I'm realizing now that I bent this for the wrong side. That's okay. We can still do it the other way. God. Bend it the other way. I already did the left side of the truck. What the hell's wrong with me? A little bit too much beer. That'll do it. Okay. Still good, right? And then just bend this the other direction. The benefit of using steel over aluminum panels is that steel actually will bend and not break. Like aluminum actually, you can bend it, but it will break. It's brittle. There we go. Just bend it the other way. All right, man. Thanks for watching. It's late there. It's not that late here. It's only about 8:35 in the night here. So thanks for tuning in, man. I really appreciate you looking at my live stream. As lame as it is, I'm just a guy just doing some RC stuff at night. I really appreciate you watching. So thanks for commenting, and I hope to see you soon. I'll be putting out more stuff very soon for all you guys. All right. So that's the side we want to do. I already have the other side done. Right? Not bad. Not bad. It's a little thick. Right? It's a little too tall. I purposely cut it long. Like there's too much stuff back here. I'm gonna have to trim that out a little bit, but it's very important that I still can bolt it. Like you can see, that is where the body bolts. I need to be able to have enough of this steel to bolt it to the body. A little short actually. It's not bad. Not bad at all. Probably trim some of this off here. Round out some of these edges. You see these lines on here? I can get rid of those pretty easily, even though they're a permanent marker. They'll come off. That's not a problem. I need to trim this a little bit. Okay. Getting there, guys. Careful fitting. Body panels. See that? Look at that. Ooh, baby. It's coming together. Not bad. Not bad fit. A little long up here, I think. Much longer than my other panel. Let's take a look at that. Where's my right panel? So here's a left side. Got a little electronic part sticking out there. So there's my finished left panel. It's all right. My only gripe is that the body is showing right here. Not the body, but the tube chassis. It's much shorter than the other side I made. I actually might have to redo this side here. You can see what a mess my workspace is. It's always a mess. I have so many tools out here. I try to keep it clean. Sean's RC Adventures. What's happening, bro? Thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you watching. That's pretty good. I think I need to trim a little bit off of this area here. Just taking off as little as possible. Ooh, that'll get you. Sean's RC Adventures. Yeah, man, this is tin. It's like galvanized steel for ductwork. I'm a tin knocker for the night, and like any tin knocker cuts you up. So be careful if you ever work with this stuff, because it's sharp. It's really sharp. I'm doing my best to not cut myself. I have a nice file here, so I'm filing it down as I go. Trying to take off those burrs, but I'm not really going to do that until I have the general shape done. Not bad, not bad, not bad. What do you guys think? Pretty solid. I think that works. Again, don't worry about the black lines on here. Those will go away. If I'm try to move in on my job, start freaking my cut. Yeah, I hear you, man. Good thing is this is cheap, right? So the whole sheet for this steel is like $10. So the worst thing that happens is you wasted $10, which not bad. That's actually, all things considered, the way things are getting so freaking expensive. It's pretty cheap. All right, so here's the really tough part of this build, right? So the tough part, like, it's easy enough to make the panels. The tough part is getting it to screw onto the chassis, right? Like, how do you do that? Like, how do you get it to mount properly? And the best way I've found is it basically, it's hard. It's not easy, but I think the best way I found, I just took a piece of metal out of my hand, thank you, is you're going to have to hold it in place in some way, shape, or form. Thank you, RC Steve. Appreciate that. Trust me, when I get this painted, it will look even better. Way better. And I'm going to cut out some louvers in here to lighten the load, like, because this is like pretty heavy with all this steel on here, but it's going to be even sicker once I paint it. If I had the technology to show you guys what I'm thinking of doing, like there's some Ford Bronco U4 trucks that if you look up on Google, you'll see, like, this is my paint scheme. I have a blue, I have an orange, and I have a white that I'm going to do. But how do you get it to mount to the body? Like, obviously there's certain points on here you got to screw it in. So the way I do it, once I have the general shape down that I think is going to work, and maybe if it's a little big, that's fine. I'd rather it be too big than too small. I take a pin. And in this car, I can go in from the back. So this whole body gets mounted in four screws hold this whole body in place. So I take this pin and I go in from the back side of the screw and I make a mark. Slightest of marks. As long as I'm happy with where it's at. Pretty happy. Has to be like that. That's where it has to be. So I take the pin, make a mark on the back side of the steel, as slight as it might be. So right there. Okay. So put a screw in here as a reference point. Always buy good tools. I cannot recommend that enough. Get yourself some MIP tools. They're the best, like by far the best for RC cars. Don't cheap out on tools. Don't get the crappy Traxxas tools you can buy or whatever you find on Amazon. Like, get yourself like good tools, because good tools are worth every cent. So I'm putting this screw in as a point where I know as a reference I can make a mark for all the other screws that this body panel is going to go into. See that? So when I put the other pinpoints in the rest of the screw holes of this truck, I'll know. And now that I have, well, I don't have the full weight of this body because I still have the other panel here for the right side. This is heavy. It's definitely much heavier than the Lexane panels you can that come with the truck. But if you look on Amazon or even A-Main, these Lexane panels clear are $80. Screw that. I'm basically making my own panels for $10. You know what I mean? Like, it takes a lot of work, but I'm not paying $80 for that stuff. You're right, RC Steve. MIP is the best. Like, I've had MIP tools for, I bought them, you know, they're not cheap. But if you're not going to cheap out on one thing, MIP tools is one of those things you should not cheap out on. If you're going to work on your cars and you want good stuff, like, there's no choice. All right, so now that I have that one body screw in, it's a good reference point. Just make sure that all this stuff lines up, right? So that looks good to me. What do you guys think? Woo! Shiny. Woo! Love it. So the other screw position is right here. So I'm going to take this thumbtack, basically, make a mark as best I can. All right, so if you can see here, I made ever such a slight mark right there. I think I might just mark that with my marker. So I don't feel like taking the whole thing apart 10 times. Okay, we have another screw up here we have to put in. And this one, you can see right there, a little thicker. But I'm still gonna use the same method. I'm actually bending these things. This is not ideal. Like, there's definitely a better tool for this. I must have it, yeah. So here's like a pick. This is a much better tool. The problem with this pick is that it's like too big. It's too big to fit in this like body space. So I wish I had something smaller than this to get in there. But I don't. So one thing I'm a master of is using the shit tools I have to make something good. So I'm going to go in from the same angle here. Just like this. Make a mark. And even that's not good. That's not good. Because this is in the way. I need something longer. I need something longer than this. What do I have in the tool chest here? That. Don't need that. Like I have this L key. This came with the laser nut. Like the Losi gives you a few tools to actually work on the car, but they're kind of useless. So like, especially if you have good ones to begin with. But it's the right length. All I really need is a mark. Like if I had like a long pen, I could make a easier mark than actually having to hit the metal. Let's just try this. Nah, too thick. This is the other tool that the Losi kit comes with. It's like probably like a 1.5 or 2 millimeter hex key. It'll at least make a mark, right? I'll look at that mark. I'll mark it with the marker. I'm going to try to make as many marks as I can as I go so that I don't have to keep taking the body panel off. If anyone has any comments, let me know. Happy to answer any questions. tricky part is here because it's on an angle. Like these two chassis parts are right on that bend. So those are tough. But as long as it's being held in place by that one screw that I put in, it shouldn't be a problem. I'll go back to the thumbtack method. Let's go straight in, as straight as I can. You can see a couple marks there. I don't think I was very successful with that one. Yep, there it is. Not so much. Oh wow, right on the corner. Shouldn't be. That's a tough one. That's a real tough one, guys. Maybe I'll try to drill these out and see where we're at once I drill them out. Oh boy. Drill's dead. Well, I can't do too much without my drill. I'm sorry, guys. I've been using quite a bit, and without my drill battery, I have plenty of 18-volt batteries, but my drill uses a 12-volt, so not much else I can do. I feel like we got pretty decent amount of the way here. Not bad. Whoop! Falling off. Pretty pathetic. It's like Operation Silver Bullet. I think that's what I might call this truck. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Ooh. I'm sorry, RC Steve. What can I do? You know what? I should have charged it up a couple days ago. I just tried to use it and it's dead. I don't know what else to tell you. I will be back. I can't have this, you know, we've been going for an hour and a half now, so I'll be doing more live streaming of my customization to this truck here. You know, I have to paint it, I have to chop it up and make it look good. Like, I'm gonna have a video this weekend with this truck. Probably not gonna have the steel body panels because it's not done. But the good thing is I can just bolt these back on and there's no issues at all. So make sure you stay tuned. Keep in touch. If you have any questions, let me know. I will definitely make this thing worth running. We're going to be out at that same bash pit on Sunday. And my buddy John has a brand new truck that we're going to be like looking at and making sure that it can handle what we're throwing at it. So thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. And stay tuned for more good stuff from RC Must See. I know this is like super low budget what I have going on here. Like, I don't have a good camera set up. You can't see me. And like, you know, like this is pretty basic, but we'll get better as we go. So thanks a lot.